Hi 140B students for fall 2020. I'm your instructor. My name is Dr. Jenny Hazlehurst, but you can call me Dr. H. I just wanted to record this message for all of you to give you a little update on what our class is going to be like in the fall. And most importantly, I just wanted to reassure all of you that I am going to be here for you even over the summer. If you have any questions or any concerns about how class is going to work in the fall, please feel free to email me. My email is attached in this email that this video is included with. So feel free to reach out to me with any comments or concerns or questions that you have about our class in organismal biology for the fall semester. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about me since I'm your professor. So my specialty is actually in studying pollinators, and I focus on this from a conservation biology perspective. So here in California, we actually have many hundreds of species of plants and insects that aren't found anywhere else in the world, really. So we live in a very special place in terms of our natural resources. And so a lot of the research that I do on campus involves studying the California plants that occur here and nowhere else, and also the pollinators that visit them. So we will definitely dive more into that during the semester. And just to update you on what our class structure is going to look like for the fall. So we are going to be 100% online. There will be no on the ground in-person labs. But I just want to reassure you that, we have all received training and have a lot of great ideas about how we're going to make this a fulfilling semester for you. Obviously, we would prefer to have you in person, but it's just not going to be safe for you and your families and communities and for the faculty and staff as well to have large classes on ground for the fall semester. So based on that, the way this is going to work is you will have 2 lectures a week. One of those lectures on Monday is going to be completely asynchronous, meaning there's no required attendance. So you don't need to be there at that time, right, online on Blackboard. Instead, what we'll be doing is I'll be uploading a video of me going through our lecture slides and our materials for that lecture. And then the second lecture of the week, which is on Wednesdays at 9:30 for us, again, attendance not required for the lecture, but I will be holding a synchronous lecture in which we sort of cover a bit more material for the week in addition to what we did in the asynchronous lecture on Monday. And then we'll also have a little more interaction and sort of question-answer format, more time for you to, engage with the material with me there. And so again, attendance is not required for that, but I strongly encourage you, especially if you're someone who really learns best when you get to interact with others, I strongly encourage you to make space in your schedule and attend that if you are able. Now for the other parts of our course, that includes a lab section and an activity section. Now for the labs, I'm not going to be requiring synchronous attendance for the lab. Instead, what will happen is there will be optional for 30 minutes. I will be there at that designated lab time, at that scheduled lab time for 30 minutes to give you directions on your take-home lab. And these labs can include things like walking around your neighborhood if you're able to, and documenting the behavior of some of the wildlife that might occur on your block. This could be crows, squirrels, maybe a coyote. There's all sorts of amazing things that we can observe just from our homes. And that's one of the benefits of this being a biology course, is that our subject matter is all around us all the time. And so we will have a lot of fun and interactive experiments and things like that for you to do from home. So that's for the lab. Now for the activity, this is our only required mandatory synchronous attendance. Okay, so you have 1 meeting of the activity per week in the latter half of the week. And so this is going to be a time for lots of interactive group work. It'll also be a time where I'll be there synchronously to help you and to answer your questions and to facilitate discussions and working on assignments in groups. So hopefully that makes sense. So again, just to go over that, the only required synchronous attendance for you to actually be there at the scheduled time is the activity. And so that happens once a week. There might be some weeks where we don't meet, but if that's the case, I will definitely let you know ahead of time so that you can prepare for that for your coming week schedule. So definitely plan to be available synchronously for those scheduled activity sections. And again, that activity is, it might be listed as lab/activity on Blackboard, but so it's the later one in the week. So for example, Wednesdays and Thursdays are when our activities meet, and our labs are meeting Mondays and Tuesdays. Right. So that's the only required attendance. That's the only time you need to be someplace at a specific time. And again, the lectures are not required attendance. One of the lectures will be pre-recorded. The first one, the Monday lecture. The second lecture of the week, the Wednesday lecture, will be synchronous, so in person, but you aren't required to be there. And both of those will be recorded and uploaded to Blackboard so that if you're not able to attend the synchronous lecture, you can still watch it and benefit from it later. And again, for the lab, also not required attendance, but you are obviously required to complete the assignments. So we'll basically provide you with a bunch of instructions for these different experiments that you can do at home. And then I will be available for 30 minutes at the start of your scheduled lab time to just give you the directions and go over that with you, but you're not required to be there synchronously. Okay, so that's sort of an overview of our class structure and how that's going to work. For the class materials, all you really need is the textbook. And so you can get this through the bookstore. I'm not requiring you to have the Mastering Biology pack. So a lot of these textbooks come with these sort of interactive online sort of quiz questions and learning modules and things like that. I'm not requiring that. If you want to get that anyway, you might find it helpful. But it does, in some cases, add a little cost to the product. So again, it's up to you. I'm also allowing you to use either the last year's edition, the 11th edition, or the 12th edition, the new edition of Campbell's Biology. And so let me share with you a picture of what that looks like. Okay, so this is the old edition. This is the 11th edition. And this is the ebook. So you can actually, through VitalSource, you can get this ebook that you can read. You can access offline as well. So I highly recommend that, especially if some of you might have a more spotty internet connection. Definitely this ebook could be good. If you want the actual physical textbook, this is what it looks like. It's quite large. I'm actually using it to prop up my computer right now. But yeah, so this is what that looks like for the 11th edition. The newer edition, the 12th edition, looks like this. Also has a flower on the cover. And then the ebook, again, looks like this. And I will send out detailed directions for how to access all of these materials and where to find them at the bookstore, things like that. Yeah, and really, in terms of the textbook, you know, if you have access to an even older edition and you prefer to use that, that's really okay too. So just, you know, let me know what you're using if you're not able to use the 11th or 12th edition of Campbell's Biology. Yeah, and then the only other materials I recommend, in addition to obviously having, you know, I recommend a laptop or a tablet for completing your online coursework, is maybe a little notebook, maybe something like this, that you can take with you if you have any lab work that requires you to maybe walk around your block and take observations. You know, you can write down some notes about what different animals and plants that you see. So I would recommend having something like that as well. You can always use your tablet if you're more comfortable using that to take notes as you walk around, but if you don't want to be walking around outside with your technology, something like this, very helpful. The only other technology that you're going to need to be comfortable with is the Google Suite. And so with your university email, you should have access to Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. And so those are all tools that we're going to be using to collaborate with one another on lab assignments. So keep that in mind, maybe get comfortable with those, and I will be providing links to videos on how to use those things as well as we get closer to the semester, the start of the semester. Okay, and then the last thing I just wanted to share with you was just some fun facts about bugs. So I spend a lot of time studying insects, and you may not realize it, but the honeybee that you are so familiar with is actually not one of the native bee species of North America. It's actually imported from Europe because it's a very good and efficient pollinator of our crops. However, here in California, we actually have hundreds and hundreds of bee species that aren't found anywhere else. And so I have here my bag of bee specimens. It says do not eat because I've been keeping these in the freezer and I don't want my partner to eat them. So I'm just going to show you some of these little guys. I'm going to put a macro lens on my laptop here so you can see. Getting closer. Here we go. So that little tiny guy is actually one of our native bees. This is probably in the genus Lacioglossum. Show you some more. So you can see the pollen just covering this bee, and this bee is very tiny. Right, like this is probably maybe a quarter or a fifth the size of a honeybee. Let's see, okay, this is a really cool bee. This is a wool carder bee in the genus Anthidium. And you can see from its abdomen, it actually looks like a wasp almost, but it's not, it's a bee. And so most of these bees, they actually don't live in hives, they're solitary. So they actually live on their own. Honeybees are really the only ones that are, the only bees that are super social and live in these big hives. Some bumblebee species do as well, but most bees don't. And so, yeah, so you can see this guy is a wool carder bee. And so she was out collecting pollen from a flower, and I just went ahead and popped a glass tube on top of this bee. And so a really cool behavior that this particular type of bee has is they'll actually gather soft fibers from plants, like any plants that look really fuzzy. And they'll actually use that to line their nests, and then they'll make these comfy little nest cells for their larvae. So you'll see them actually collecting those little fibers off of plants, and then they're making little cushions for their eggs. Yeah, so those are some fun bug facts. I also wanted to talk about murder hornets. So I want to maybe give you all a sense of relief. You might have heard about these, quote, murder hornets that are invading the US, and that is actually not really a true story. That's a very exaggerated story. And so these giant hornets do not naturally occur in North America. And one nest of them was found in 2019 up in Canada, in Western Canada and British Columbia. That nest was eradicated in September of 2019. And then there were 2 individual hornets that were actually found just barely over the border from Canada in Washington State. And one of those was eliminated, the other one got away. However, you know, our entomological experts here in the US have been reassuring everyone that there is not currently, you know, like a major threat of these giant hornets coming into the US. So you don't need to worry about that, or even North America. Like we don't, there's very few, there's only those two sightings of them in history. And the odds that any of those insects are still alive is very low. And even if any have survived, they're probably all, you know, nearby to that first nest in Canada. And so that we haven't seen any since then suggests that they've probably all, you know, died off or been eradicated. So one less thing to worry about in these times. Yeah, and then the last thing I wanted to share with you about bugs, and I've also provided some fun links for you, some more interactive things for you to do, maybe with your families while you're sheltering in place. One of them is a bunch of activities linked through the Los Angeles Natural History Museum, and so I'll share that with you too. But I also just wanted to share with you, so this is a favorite snack of mine. This is actually a dried grasshopper, you can see. And so they actually make a really great snack. I bought these from a store. You can buy them dried like this. And so it's a great alternative form of getting protein. It's good. Okay, so you can now say that this was the only class in which your professor ate a bug. Yeah, so let me just share with you some of these resources for some activities to keep you engaged with biology over the summer and maybe get you pumped up and ready for 140B in the fall. So let me share this with you. Okay, so grasshopper. So here's a online exhibit through the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles about some of the amazing biodiversity, or the range of different amazing types of species that we find of insects, even within our cities like Los Angeles. And so you can look through some of these great pictures. And then there's also some fun activities at the bottom, things that you can do at home. And so I recommend all of these things. Another great way to keep involved with biology over the summer is by getting into bird watching. And so I've provided a link to this website as well, through the Audubon Society, with some tips on how to get started with looking at some of the birds that maybe occur in your area. And the third and final thing I wanted to share with you is iNaturalist. And so we're actually going to be using this this website, and also it's a mobile app for your phone as well during the semester. And so iNaturalist basically allows you to take a picture on your cell phone or on a regular camera of anything that's alive, really, except for people. Dogs are kind of accepted, but we're looking more for wildlife. And so it can be even a plant, a mushroom, a larger animal. It can be pretty much anything that's alive. And you can upload that to this website, iNaturalist. And so let's look at what it looks like. And so every red dot here, all over the world, so there's over 30 million photos have been uploaded, and each one of these is called an observation. And you upload them to this online platform. And basically, the program itself, iNaturalist, the platform will try to identify it for you, but then there's also this online community of over 1 million people that will help you identify what that organism is. So if you see something really cool and you're not sure what it is, take a picture of it with your phone, upload the photo to iNaturalist. You do have to make an account, but it's all free. This is run by the California Academy of Sciences here in the Bay Area over in San Francisco. And yeah, people will identify these things for you. You can see all over the world, there's all sorts of organisms that people are observing using this wonderful tool that is iNaturalist. And so we're going to be using this as well during the semester. All right, well, I hope that was informative and helpful, and I just wanted to reassure all of you that I'm here for you. Feel free to reach out to me over the summer if you have any questions about 140B and how that will work in the fall. And I look forward to getting to know all of you better and working with you in the fall. All right, stay safe and enjoy the summer, what you can of it, okay?